What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Showdown Breakdown. Where My Turds At special, where we're taking a look at the Steelers at the Browns, Thursday Night Football. Let's do this. Yeah, you talk about a weird showdown, and this is about as bad as it gets. 38.5 point total. Ugh. You know, the Browns are 3.5 point or 4.5 point home favorites at this point, which is interesting. But you know, two really kind of bad offenses. Steelers defense has been pretty decent, I guess, in week one, but they lose Watt. Is he still out?
He's out. Yep.
He's out like for a while. So they lose their best defensive player. And of course, Cleveland coming off that loss to the Jets. Fluky loss.
But to the Jets. There's no fluky losses to the Jets.
How do you?
Or are they all fluky losses to the Jets?
I mean, as much as the Nick Chubb owners were happy that my boy, got that third touchdown. And I would have done it too if I'm him. I'm not thinking my team can blow a 2-touchdown lead in less than 2 minutes, nor have I ever seen the Jets. Anyway, it doesn't matter. That was an awesome game, though. And so we've got this kind of crapola game here between the Steelers and the Browns. And a couple of, it's just filled with turds. They're bad players all over. There's no one worth starting. It's really weird. So let's go to the matchup sheet and see if we could figure anything out. The Cleveland offense is going to be a run-heavy, run-first unit most of the time, especially with Jacoby Brissett at the helm. My guy has not done a lot of throw-ins with the team at all so far this season. But no, it's been the Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt show, and especially last week with Nick Chubb. Monster usage, got the touchdowns. Bobbywow, I'm finding it really interesting that the target percentage has been about the same for Hunt and Chubb. I'm assuming just Brissett is just not checking down to these running backs very frequently.
Yeah, I think they're riding the hot hand a little bit too, right? Because in even game situation, it favored Chubb pounding the ball until the very end last week. But the week before, it was Kareem Hunt who scored 2 touchdowns and got several targets. So I think it just depends on what you think the game flow is going to look like.
Yeah. Definitely. Interesting at best. Another really interesting phenomenon that we saw this past week was in week one, it was kind of Donovan Peoples-Jones that was getting a lot of that target attention. And in week two, it was all Amari Cooper. And Amari Cooper actually had a big game in week two. He actually put up a big score, and he makes for an interesting potential. I think these wide receivers, I think everybody's going to be on the running backs at MVP and captain. And I think some of these kind of turdly wide receivers might be where it's at, or maybe even a defense or a kicker. Man, I could see a kicker getting there in a game like this. Could be like 5 field goals.
I was thinking that, Geek, because anytime that you get me talking about defense and kickers, that's how you know it's getting ugly.
Yeah, this is gross. And both these teams want to play slow. They want to run it. Yeah, it's pretty bad. So outside of Cooper and DPJ, the People's wide receiver, there ain't a whole lot going on here. It's really, really turdly. David Bell and Anthony Schwartz splitting the WR3 touches, but more often than not, this team has 2 tight ends on the field. They're not running 3 wide receiver sets. They're running the football. So that's going to mean a little bit extra Harrison Bryant on the field. Harrison Bryant last week, and quite honestly, he's been getting as much work as David Njoku. Cleveland offense has not changed, man. They changed from Baker Mayfield to Brissett, and they're running the exact same offense.
Exactly the same.
I wonder if they're going to change it when Watson comes back, or if they're just going to do this more.
It's Cleveland, so I expect the worst.
Yeah, it's really tricky. Are you interested in David Bell or Anthony Schwartz at all?
I think so. We'll look at the cheat sheet in a little bit and you'll kind of see what's going on, but you almost have to find a really deep punt. And so David Bell will rise to the surface a little bit. He's the turd that floats to the top.
Oh.
But again, we're not talking like very interested. It's just you might need him in tournaments. We'll see.
I don't even know that David Bell is going to be on the field that much more than Schwartz, but probably. I mean, he was definitely a highly touted rookie. So, I drafted him in a couple of dynasty leagues.
He's half the price of
even
Schwartz.
better. Okay. Yep. Yeah, I like the sound of that. I did bet the under on David Bell receptions in week 1. It's probably the easiest bet of the season.
Free money.
Yeah, that was free money. All right. For the Steelers, Mitch Trubisky. A little bit of ire directed in Trubisky's way by the fans in Pittsburgh. A little bit of the boo birds came out.
What else is new? Come on.
It's not very polite for salt of the earth people of Pittsburgh. I expect that in other places in the country, but not Pittsburgh. It's not very polite at all. Apparently, that happened, and I want to ask DFSUpNorth his opinion of the boo birds in Pittsburgh. Not liking Trubisky. They want Pickett.
I mean, haven't they said that they're not going to play Pickett this year?
No, they have said that they're going to, but we'll see. Hey, a couple more bad games and,
right?
that can change. So,
is Bobby wearing, I haven't seen yet. Is Bobby wearing his Trubisky jersey today or what's going on here?
I wanted to. I couldn't bring myself to it.
How are you not wearing that? There's no bigger Trubisky supporter than Bobbywow.
Got to keep it clean for tomorrow.
I'm fairly confident that he bought a Trubisky signed jockstrap online, but he just doesn't want to show it.
It's better than me buying
I'm wearing it.
Buying the farts in a jar from that model.
Jeez. What?
Just don't tell your wife what.
What in the world, Geek?
I'm going to open it for a special occasion. All right.
Oh my gosh.
All right, where are we at here? What are we talking about?
We're talking Steelers. We're talking Steelers offense.
Okay.
Trubisky out there not throwing a whole lot, but Najee Harris getting pretty much all the rushing game work, decent target work. So he is a workhorse back for all to end he's not the most expensive. Nick Chubb is like priced up like crazy, but Najee Harris is obviously going to be one of the better plays. Has not had a good game yet this year. So we'll see about that. There are some issues with that Pittsburgh offensive line and just the offense in general. This doesn't score very frequently. Then we've got Deontay Johnson, who pretty much has remained, I would say, the alpha in this offense, 30% target share. He's followed by Claypool and Pickens. We're seeing pretty much a target share that I think you would expect with Claypool coming in at 20%. I think eventually George Pickens is going to surpass Chase Claypool and maybe even Deontay as the number 1 wide receiver. Does it happen today?
What do you think, Bob? I mean, our looking at our research station, I was surprised by our projections on Pickens. Like, it looks like we're projecting him for almost 5 catches, which I think is
there was a flaw
rosy,
in that we're correcting the flaw in that. Yeah, the reception number was off. That's going to change the next update of that. I noticed it too. There was a calculation.
I mean, but here's the deal: like, Pickens can hit value, just like if Trubisky can get him a bomb, right? Like, his ATOT is 21 yards. Like, there's potential for Pickens to have a big day here.
Hunter's talking about Pickett. I do not think this is the spot where they're going to bench Trubisky for Pickett. I don't think we're ready for that yet.
Not on a short week, right? Like
No, but I do think
it's their potential. Like, right? I think at some point in the next 5 or like 3 to 4 weeks, we probably see Kenny Pickett, right?
I think it's in, or Bobbywow is right, and Mitch Trubisky takes a hold of this job.
I think Mitch Trubisky's a serviceable NFL quarterback. I don't want to say that he's good. I think he's serviceable. And I think that, I think there's definitely the scenario where that happens, right?
Yeah, the Steelers team could turn it around. Like, I'm surprised at how mediocre Trubisky has been the first couple. I really think there's room for him to play a lot better, even within his personal skill set. George Pickens, though, very exciting turd play on this slate for me. I don't know. Are we considering him a turd? Like,
I don't think, not when you play 72% of the snaps or whatever.
Yeah, he's definitely not a turd.
He's out there the whole game. What's the salary on Pickens on DraftKings?
He's cheap. He's one of the cheaper viable options. I think it's 4,000 to 5,000, somewhere in that range.
Yeah, he's just over the kicker zone. So, we know what we need. We need to outscore the kicker or be similar in scoring to the kicker to be viable. we have to mention, I mean, Miles Boykin and Gunnar Olszewski, outside of the deepest of deep turd dives, are not going to be super relevant. One guy I do love, though, is Patty Freiermuth, coming off of 20 and 25% target shares the first couple weeks. They throw to him a lot. Trubisky likes to throw to the tight end, but not even that. The team does throw to the tight end. That's how that offense works. I really like Freiermuth. I like him in this spot, and I think he's viable across the board, even as a sneaky, crazy sneaky captain play on DraftKings might be viable. No for you.
What do you think?
I don't hate it. I think, I definitely don't hate it. You're absolutely right about Trubisky liking his tight ends. That's true. And I think the other thing to note about Freiermuth, especially on FanDuel, is he is a touchdown scorer. So that's certainly that's certainly worth noting. And I don't know that I'm necessarily going with him as a captain play with Kareem Hunt at $600 more, but I think deep punt, like you said, Geek, certainly viable.
It's just one of those, there's a few different scenarios that we could play this one for. One of which is it's such a low scoring stinker that no one scores well. We've seen showdowns happen where there are a quarterback scoring 11 points that are in the nuts lineup because no one else did anything. We've seen it. This has the makings of that style. Listen, it could go the opposite way.
Yeah, I think there's potential that we get a 0, right? And that happens more often than we think. If we look at our showdown analysis sheet, it's almost 10% of the time we get a 0 QB in the nuts.
Oh yeah, no QBs in the nuts as well. That could definitely happen here. It could just be running backs taking kickers, defenses, running backs. So this is a really weird one, and I'm cautioning everybody because your approach to entering the showdown has to change a little bit.
Right
here, there might not be spending all the salary. That's the smartest move. Nick Chubb, who's the most expensive, he could easily fail. We know Nick Chubb's floor. He doesn't score a touchdown. He runs for 80 yards, 8.2 points.
Especially on DraftKings.
For sure.
Yeah, he could easily fail in a spot he could underscore. He can get outscored by a kicker.
I think this is a game where if you're building lots of lineups or 60 to 150, less is more when it comes to rules, don't you think?
Yeah, I don't know that you can. I mean, other than your general, if I'm playing Trubisky, I probably need a pass catcher with him. So, we'll have our standard QB captain MVP with a pass catcher type of rule. But I'm not going to disallow two defenses. Has
not
two defenses ever won?
Two defenses?
Yeah, has that ever won? I'm definitely not going to disallow two kickers on the same team. I think two kickers is super viable.
All rules out the window, I think, for me. I mean, even to the point where it's viable to have Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt in the same lineup.
Absolutely.
I don't love that.
I have no problem.
This is one of those cases where it's definitely viable.
Yeah, I don't have any issue with that at all. All right, guys. So before we get into the cheat sheets and get into the nitty gritty, I want to talk a little bit about our show sponsor, No House Advantage. And I'm going to show you guys something here. They have a really awesome Thursday night football contest. And the best part, look how few 69 entrants.
Wow.
Couldn't ask for more. Only 69 people in there out of 1,200. But this is very important. This contest will not fill. No. So this is a really sweet, essentially GPP tournament where you're starting, half the field is already wiped out because they don't enter it.
It's super fun to play too. The different point, there's some strategy to it. I'm a fan.
Yeah. So the way the contest works, and I'll just go over, and I have one prop I picked out that I really like, but I'll go over the way the contest works. You select a prop in each points category, and that's how many points you get if you're right about the prop. And if you hit 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, you're pretty much winning this tournament.
Yep.
Right? If you hit all your props, you're going to win the tournament. So hit all these props in a row, you can win it, but you can actually miss a few of these and still win it as long as your high points props.
You got to get those 7 and 6s. That's how you get to the cash line.
Yeah, and it's a real nice site overall. And the prop I picked out for this one, David Njoku, under 37.5 receiving yards in this game. He's just not that used in this offense to where I want to bet a 50-50 proposition that he's going to score, do over 37 yards. Plus, if you take a look here at the DFS Army, and you might not be able to see it on screen, but this is the DFS Army research station, and we project everything right down to the yardage, and we've got Njoku down at 27.1. So significantly lower then the prop on no house advantage of 37.
The Vegas line is 24. That's like your slam dunk 7-point play.
This is a really easy under to hammer. You start off with a free square, basically. Of course, he's going to go off in this game. David Njoku won a milli maker last season for someone. Let's not forget. We did that. So go check out No House Advantage. If you sign up with promo code ARMY, you're going to A, support the show. B, you'll get a deposit match. And what else can you ask for? You get that deposit match, support the show, and play in this awesome game where basically you're going to be competing against like 600 people in a 1,200 person contest. It's free money. Get signed up now. All right. Moving on to the cheat sheet. So we are talking DraftKings. We're going to talk a little bit of FanDuel, talk a little DraftKings. Let's get ourselves out of the way here. And kind of, I don't know if this is visible. I'm going to bring us back down. I never know. I kind of want to make it large on the screen here. So taking a look at the DFS, at the Bobbywow cheat sheet for potential captain plays, and take us through these captain plays, Bobbywow.
It's a little bit of a crapshoot across the board, and that includes captain plays. So I think up front, the big thing to note is Nick Chubb's price. He is expensive, and for a guy that isn't necessarily known for catching passes on DraftKings, that's a big deal. So, Geek and I were talking about it beforehand. I think Chubb's ceiling is probably the highest on the slate. That might be fair to say. But the paths to him having a dud in terms of captain score, there's several. And so, knowing his price that high and knowing that those paths exist kind of make me want to pay down a little more. So that Najee to me he's my favorite captain play. His usage is there. He's the workhorse. I know he hasn't necessarily produced in the 2 games this year, but there is this misconception, I feel like, with Najee that he doesn't have a ceiling. Like, his ceiling is low. I've heard that time and time again. I went back. He had at least 4 or 5 weeks of showdown captain nuts scores. So his ceiling can be up there, and he showed it last year several times. So I like it.
I mean, the Jets smashed last week against the Cleveland Browns, right? Like, with Michael Carter and Breece Hall, and Najee's exponentially more talented than him. Do you guys think do you think there's a case to be made, right? We always talk about taking stands that I'm just going to have 0 Chubb captain.
Yes.
100%.
Right?
Yes. Listen, as great as Chubb did, I hate chasing a big score from the week before, right?
Right.
That's one. Number 2, Chubb is facing a really good defensive team, or a pretty good defensive team, but we know what Chubb does. If he does not score the touchdown, he's probably not going to put up a big number. Nope. They don't throw to him a ton. So, Chubb could easily get 80 yards, but Kareem Hunt gets a couple of touchdowns, or no one, or they throw, or something else happens. So, or the kicker takes all the scoring.
Or they don't score a touchdown.
They don't score. I mean, there's a lot of different ways that this one, we have to kind of look at the most likely scenario. And listen, I could see Chubb getting there and getting a touchdown. But again, at $12K, when you're priced that high, Aaron Jones did this the other day. We just had a slate where Aaron Jones seemed exorbitantly priced, but there were no other good players on the slate. So you end up with a lot of Aaron Jones. And he ended up, of course, being the clear cut. And then look, in hindsight, you're like, wow, how did I not play a ton of?
Yeah, no, I was there. That was me.
You know what I mean? But that happened, right? That was not that long ago that Aaron Jones, it was like 2 days ago. Yeah. Aaron Jones was destroying it in the same spot.
But again, I hate pass catching running back. Chubb isn't that guy. I think that's the difference for me.
I mean, okay, as we move down here, though, there's something I need to talk about. There is no chance that Deontay Johnson will put up a solid score with Geek throwing him passes.
With who?
You. Read the notes.
Wait.
Doesn't matter. Geek could be throwing darts to DJ and he would still put up solid scores. I dispute that.
I'm not that bad. Listen, I was the quarterback when we played street football and backyard football. I was very frequently the quarterback. So,
it's like the computer game backyard football, backyard baseball.
In fairness, I hurt my shoulder recently. I don't know if you guys saw the video of me at the punt pass kick competition. I did kick a field goal.
Yes, I did see that.
I did catch the punt and return it for a touchdown.
like a younger Rodrigo Blankenship, who's without a job right now.
You know, we got to get him over to DFS Army as an analyst. But I will say that the pass portion of the punt pass kick competition did not go well. The arm strength wasn't there after the injury. Retraining it, doing push-ups. All right.
Okay, but pass catchers, right? Like pass catchers, I think in a game like this, like in a low-scoring game, right? I think you have to be over the field on guys like Cooper and Johnson because one pass can win you a showdown.
It just takes exactly what you're saying. I don't think we should get away from what we've done in showdowns, which is really like pass catchers, even in the shitty version of a showdown with these horrible quarterbacks. Yeah, Amari Cooper too. Amari's coming off a 21-point game. If this was last week, Amari Cooper is the nuts play for, well, actually it was still Chubb, but Amari Cooper's right there behind Chubb. As a matter of fact, you know what? I want to see. Now I want to see the draft.
And I got to get this out. I got to put this out there. I talked a lot about Amari Cooper. He was one of my calls in the Friday podcast.
Yes,
and I got torn to shreds.
I was all over Donovan Peoples-Jones coming off 10 targets and he got 0. So, I mean,
between your call of Amari Cooper, not that was the nuts, but the Bob calling the Nick Chubb play.
The Bob Chubb call is way better. It's amazing.
Yeah, that was the nuts play. Too. Yeah, and by the way, it was the only running back who did anything the whole week. All right, let's take a look at Nick Chubb last week. His score, 32.3 as a captain. Oh, no, 32.3 versus Cooper, who put up 28.1. So, man, this was close even last week. And Chubb needed 3 touchdowns.
Yep.
Depending on the salary, Coop might have got him in the nuts captain play.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But this was close because he's 4K less. So Amari Cooper might have been the nuts. So even last week, after 3 touchdowns, Amari Cooper might have been the better play.
Right.
If that's not enough of a reason to say, you know what, let's keep Amari Cooper as one of our favorite as one of our favorite captains. I don't know what else to say. I'd put the same thing. Listen, I'm not sure that Mitch Trubisky is that much better than me throwing passes, but
and just to come back to it too, we talked about running backs, Chubb needing to score a touchdown. It's the opposite with wide receivers. Like it's a very realistic possibility that Deontay Johnson could wind up as the nuts captain without scoring a touchdown in a game like this.
100 yards, 9 receptions, he could get there.
I think he could get there for like 14 points.
Yeah. So we're gonna load up on these pass catchers. I will tell you who I'm not going to use in the captain. It's these 2 guys. I'm just not into it.
Right.
It's not going to happen. I'm not even going to talk about him. But if you do want to use Brisket or Trubisky as your captain, make sure, of course, that you're pairing them with probably more than one pass catcher from their own team. I don't know how Trubisky gets there without pulling 2 guys with him, unless he runs for touchdowns.
One in, right?
Neither of these guys do enough with their. Although Trubisky every once in a while will just go crazy legs. Yeah. But it's just not what he does all the time. It's really weird. All right. So the other players that are relevant, DPJ, Donovan. Yes. Donovan Peoples-Jones, the Peoples wide receiver.
Boy.
Sure. Chase Claypool. Yeah, he could catch a touchdown. I don't see him getting 100 yards, but he can get there. And Kareem Hunt, of course. By the way, it's going to be Kareem Hunt. Like between us 3. It's going to be Kareem Hunt. If you have Deontay as the captain, do you need to pair him with Trubisky? There's your answer. No. I don't think it's a need.
I don't think you have to. Like I said, you don't want to make a rule for that if you're optimizing.
Don't force it.
Yeah, you can, but I don't know that I want that if I'm doing a lot of lineups. If I'm handcrafting, listen. What's wrong with it if it's the weed? That's probably a really good.
Claypool is more involved. He's more involved this year than he was after he fell off the face of the earth in 2021. And again, like with Freiermuth, he's a touchdown guy. Like if he's going to score, it's because he's getting thrown to the end zone. So I don't hate it.
And we got to throw in George 2-tap Pickens. If they just start throwing to him,
right?
Like that guy could be the nuts play at captain too. George Pickens is the best wide receiver probably on the Steelers team. He's the best guy of them all. Like that guy he's
a matchup nightmare, right? Like he's 6'3", 225, and he runs a 4.47. Like
we've seen the other rookies start to shine We've seen Jahan Dotson doing it. We've seen Drake London. By all means, George Pickens was a better prospect than Drake London. We've seen George Wilson on the Jets doing it. All these guys, like, you don't think Pickens is like, dude, it's my turn. I got to keep up for the rookie of the year. That's a big deal. That's a big deal. So in the flex spot, we're going to get to the turd zone, and I haven't actually studied the salaries to see how you can squeeze a lineup together. But I do suspect that if you leave Nick Chubb out, it's not that hard to make lineups.
No, you can pretty much get whoever.
Yeah, like, is Chubb the problem child here, Bobbywow?
For sure he is, but it's harder than you think because there are really no viable options below the kickers. So we'll get there, but there's really not much cheap value.
I gotta get the turd zone ready for some of these names here. But all right, so we're making our way down the list. I said Kareem Hunt, very viable, 70. So of course they always probably Patty Freiermuth. We already talked about. I love Pat Freiermuth. 7K, whatever. I like him better than Njoku. But Njoku has won people a tournament before. You got him 3 stars. You kind of, you've got Freiermuth as the all and Njoku more of the tournament. Meaning, guys, what this means is kind of like we feel really safe with Freiermuth. You probably put him in your cash lineup.
Yep.
But,
the ceiling. We're chasing the ceiling with Njoku, and it's worth he's 2K less. That's part of the reason too.
You got the savings there. George two-tap Pickens coming in at 4,800. It won't take much for Pickens to be that nuts play. Very easy. Harrison Bryant on the field all the time because Cleveland runs 2 wide receiver, 2 tight end, that same personnel unit pretty much most of the time. Every once in a while, they'll have 2 running backs in there as well.
He was questionable, but he, as of a couple hours ago, was cleared to play. So he's in.
Okay.
That's good for that Njoku prop too.
Yeah. I mean, again, if we're crafting our cash game or our tournament lineups, both kicker. Do we have a preferred kicker, or is it who cares? They're both the same. I mean, normally I might lean the home favorite kicker. Right. So Cade York.
It's the Boz for me, just because of the experience. I think Cade missed a pretty big extra point last week or the week before, and he's a rookie, so slight lean Boz, but it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, I mean, if we care about the talent of the kicker, it's probably Boz at that point, right? Who was that rookie that kicked the 60-yarder for to beat? I think it was the Panthers in week 1. I don't remember who it was, but
that would have been this guy, right?
Was it Cleveland? No. Who played the Panthers in week 1? I can't remember.
I thought it was Cleveland. Maybe not.
Was it Cleveland?
Yeah.
Was it Cade York that burned me?
York has a long one. That's for sure.
Yeah, there was a rookie kicker that got me for crushed my Panthers bet in week 1.
For me, it always just comes down to, like, when I'm looking at kickers, I just try to think of, okay, which team is going to struggle to finish drives more, right? And I think it's probably I don't know, like the Steelers
the Steelers might struggle to get the ball into scoring position, though. Whereas I think Cleveland gets it there. Will. Yeah, I mean, like both these teams.
But they both scored. I mean, Steelers put up a bunch of points against Cincinnati. Like,
this is a kicker game, guys. Put the kickers in
the spot. I never give them 3 stars. I hate it, but it's so true.
They belong up here. They belong in the captain.
We get a kicker? Let's not get too crazy here, please.
You can play a kicker at captain today.
Maybe 2% of the time.
It happens 2 out of 100. This might be the game.
2% of the time.
Definitely putting both of them in my cash lineup. Yes. At the very worst, you got to play the favored kicker.
I will say this: only 3% of the time double kickers, but I think that we're going to get
how often is it a 38-point total?
Right. Yeah, and that's the average over under for those was 47.
Yeah. I mean, these approaches. No, I don't think you need Chubb. I will not go 100% Chubb. Chubb will burn you if he doesn't work out. He'll have a great game, or he'll burn you. Like, he's got to cross 100. He needs the bonus, the touchdown, 20 points. You're good. And that's the most likely outcome. But my goodness, he gets 78 yards, no touchdown, maybe 2 receptions. That's crushing you at his salary. You can't. He cannot. He's not someone I want to have.
Yeah, I'd much rather go 100% Hunt than 100% Chubb, right? On DK, anyways.
I'm just gonna pick out all of these guys and give a single
Just a quick one.
question to the Swami, the Bishop. Can I play any of these guys? Demerick Felton, Miles Boykin, Connor Hayward, Jesse, the Outlaw, Jesse James. Are any of these guys viable?
Hell no, to the no, 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 yeah, to the no.
The Outlaw Jesse James has been in the nuts before, I believe, with a Lions game.
Listen, the Outlaw is like now is in a retirement home. He's just playing on occasion.
Getting old.
Yeah, he's getting old. He's getting up there. I mean, we go back to the matchups, and these guys aren't even on the matchup sheet. Like they're so turdly, they weren't even deemed worthy of paying attention to their usage.
The Outlaw didn't get a target, but in fairness, he was on the field 20% of the snaps. That's why he's on the sheet.
All right, I can get on board with that.
Yeah.
They're bad, Geek. These are terrible turd options. I will say, just real quick, Gunner had a really bad turnover last week. I think he muffed a punt or muffed a kick or something. So if you're punting with a Pitt wide receiver, I'd go Boykin if you have to.
Say his last name. Say his last name, Bobby.
I can't.
Olszewski.
Olszewski. Yeah, I'm
wow.
Alumni. We're both alumni together.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Nice.
Interesting.
Years younger than me.
Say his first name.
Gunner.
And then David
Gooner.
Bell.
Gooner.
David Bell's the other guy I would consider down here. He's probably my favorite option below 2K.
Bell was a college stud.
College stud. Schwartz stinks. So yeah.
Bell is somebody I drafted in some dynasty leagues. Talented guy, hasn't had the workload yet. He's splitting with Schwartz.
Right.
I like Bell more than Schwartz. I agree with you, and I don't mind him as a super turd if you need that spot, but don't expect more than 2 targets.
No,
his way. This Cleveland team just doesn't throw that much. So, unless things get bananas, I'm not expecting a whole lot, but again, we don't need a whole lot here. But maybe let's make a quick lineup before we look at FanDuel, because I just want to kind of see. So let's talk about all those.
Can we mention one more guy, Geek?
Go ahead.
And I'm curious about your thoughts. We always talk about running backs and their potential to be injured. The one name I didn't recognize at first, kind of made me do a double take, was Jalen Warren. Okay, he is the RB2 in Pittsburgh.
Yeah,
he's getting no attention.
He's ahead of Benny Snell.
His ownership is 5%.
He was
on the field for a quarter of the snaps.
Yep. I
don't hate it. By the way, Najee Harris got the foot issues, little Liz Frank. So issues. There is no doubt he could come out of this game. Jalen Warren is the legit. I have Jalen Warren on my fantasy benches. 1 hit away running. A little fantasy football advice, guys.
Wow.
Put 1 hit away running backs on your fantasy bench.
That one's on the house.
Don't store a bunch of crappy wide receivers that you're never going to use. You put the 1 hit away running backs. Jalen Warren is one of those guys. The Williams brother out in Arizona. Get him on your bench. Isaiah Pacheco. Yeah, if Hilaire gets hurt, those are who you want on your fantasy bench. Alexander Madison. That's who you should be sitting on, not freaking Devontae Parker waiting for him to break out. I say that because I thought Devontae was going to have a good year, and it's not happening. All right. Jalen Warren, though, in that mix, and get him before the injury happens so you don't have to blow your whole fob. All right. Where were we? Oh, yeah. Quick. Let's kind of get a cashy lineup going. I want to see what happens when I put both kickers in a lineup together, right? York, the Boz, got 10,000. So, let's go with the wide receiver here. You want to go with cheat code or Amari Cooper?
I wouldn't go Coop. I'd go Johnson.
Let's go cheat code. Okay. At the captain, right?
I favor Johnson over Coop, but that's just me.
Yeah, I would agree.
I mean, I like Cooper too, but you can fit them all. So at this point, we make a decision. Like I said, look what happens. Basically,
you just go Najee.
If you play Chubb, you've got to kind of go to a quarterback and Kareem, or you can go Harris, Cooper. The Najee fade lets you get pretty much most of the studs outside of the quarter. And I could put the quarterbacks in too if I wanted. They could fit in there as well.
Don't hate that.
Yeah, it's a pretty gross slate, though. I mean, you don't feel good about any lineup that you make.
No.
You don't feel good about it. Maybe I'll feel better about FanDuel. So let's take a look at.
You will feel better about FanDuel, I think.
Yes.
I think FanDuel is easier to build on.
Yeah, FanDuel feels a little bit like. Here, let's get the Thursday game open. Let's get the cheat sheet going. So, FanDuel and DraftKings, we like to talk about the difference. All right, actually, let's get to this. Who would we consider to be core plays on DraftKings? I think it's got to be on DraftKings pass catcher. So probably either Deontay and or Amari Cooper. The two kickers.
Najee for me.
Yeah, I
as
like
a core
Najee a
play.
lot.
Najee, there you go.
And then Freiermuth and
plays.
Kareem Hunt I would mix in as core plays.
Yeah, and Chubb if you can squeeze them in there. So let's get over to FanDuel, and we are going to take a look at the cheat sheet. Bobbywow. Again, we like running backs and usually quarterbacks. I don't know about these quarterbacks, but we usually like quarterbacks and running back. Can we just go only running backs on this one?
Mhm.
And maybe like
I don't see why not.
Yep.
What about a kicker?
That's what I just built it. Like that's what I'm saying. Like it's pretty easy to do.
Chubb. Gonna go Najee. Maybe
Hunt.
need Kareem also.
Yeah, I think you get all three.
Kickers.
I don't know if I'm going Hunt on FanDuel with Chubb in the MVP.
True.
But you certainly
Because
can.
they need touchdowns, right? Like
Ooh,
Yep.
Cade York is priced down as a kicker too, which opens up.
you're
But
5.
yeah, I mean, yeah, I totally agree with you. So at this point, you could squeeze in.
you can go Coop.
I mean, that lineup just built
Easy.
itself, didn't it?
Yep. Which means that if you're going to play like a bigger GPP, like they're going to have this Thursday million, right? Like you got to take some stands somewhere or do something funky or leave a bunch of salary on the table. Or if you don't want to chop it with 8,000 of your closest friends.
This is not winning the Thursday million.
No.
This is the most obvious like cash lineup that you could probably put together. So let's not enter that in there. Although I want to save that for like a small contest where I think it could cash.
Right.
But let's take a look. So, up top, we've got, of course, Nick Chubb, but I think Najee Harris and Kareem Hunt all super viable.
You make a good point, though, Bobby, about not having both of them in the lineup, especially if one is the MVP. I think if you have like maybe a Najee Harris captain or MVP,
Yeah.
I don't hate coming back with both of them because that's a lower owned combination.
Totally agree.
Yeah, Najee has not put up slate breaking numbers so far this season, but it's only been 2 games, and
Right.
you almost have to throw that stuff away. And like I said, we don't need a 30, we need like a 21, and that's probably the highest score in a game like this. So it's just whoever gets that touchdown. It could easily be Patty Freiermuth too. I'm telling you, we can't sleep on these tight ends. But you've got Trubisky and Brisket in there, so justify those two for me, Bobbywow. It's just we always play quarterbacks.
Yeah, I mean, we mention this all the time, but if a quarterback is going to be 10% on FanDuel, I have to at least consider going 20% on one of them. So that, quarterback is king, running back is king on FanDuel. So, that's where my eyes go to ownership. And if I can get leverage without maxing out my lineups, I'm going to try and do it.
I like that you got Deontay Johnson and Amari Cooper in there, even though they're going to be extremely long shots for FanDuel. We have not had a lot of success, or it's not been a very successful approach to play a lot of wide receivers, unless his name is Cooper Kupp.
It's just gross enough. It's just gross enough this week where you could see it.
Yep. That low scoring potential.
What about a defense up there? Steelers defense. Steelers defense put up a big score. They put up a 20 already this year.
You could. The defenses are going to be popular, so that kills me.
People are on FanDuel. They're using the defense as an MVP.
It looks like between the two, 12%.
That's unbelievable. That's unbelievable. So in order for a player on FanDuel to be the MVP, they have to be the highest scoring unit. So like a defense would have to outscore it could happen. Kicker defense. If you play the defense, you better have kickers in there too. Like the defense should be. I think you need to stack kicker with defense. Like, there's no scenario where a defense is the best play on the slate. I would like to look back and see if that's ever happened on FanDuel without the kicker also being a part of that. Actually, FanDuel just added defense, so we can't even check it.
No, you can't. We got 2 weeks sample size.
Yeah, there's nothing to check. We have no sample to go off of. But I'm just saying, like, I'd like to see it on DraftKings then. every time a kicker has been the captain on those few times, my guess is a defense is also in that because
Sure.
the other team's not scoring. No one's scoring. Those defenses are going nuts. That's why the kickers are having their game. You know,
Nope. In my head, I can just think of the one. And
there was one. Do we always have to go back to that one Mexico City game?
The scenario,
I know, where
the
so
scenario
many,
is that it's a shootout and everybody's expensive.
Yeah, well, that ain't happening here. I remember that one though. The Mexico City game, I believe it was.
It's funny how when you do these for so long that your brain just starts to remember like these certain games.
Yeah,
that I would never ever care about.
Pickett's not coming in this game unless somebody gets hurt. Like that's always a fine play, but
I think if this was a Sunday night, I'd be more inclined to say that it's a possibility as opposed to a Thursday. I still don't think it's likely, but
I trust Mike Tomlin. Okay,
sure.
We talk about McVay. Fair not to trust him, obviously. I trust Tomlin, and Tomlin, after last week, is preaching patience with Trubisky. I think he's the guy unless he gets hurt for at least the next several weeks.
That's what I'm saying. He is not in danger of losing his job in game. Kicker with same defense, not opposing. Same defense, same kicker. Kicker defense, same team kicker. Again, don't go crazy with this stuff, guys. Play a couple lineups that way. But, my guess would be, I would love to see the research on it. My guess would be when outside of the high scoring, in the low scoring scenario, when the kicker is the captain, I bet the defense is part of that player pool in the flex. Yeah, we all remember that game. That was the ultimate high scoring game. All right, so on FanDuel, I think we're looking for we're hunting for touchdowns. And Bobbywow, I mean, a lot of these guys, Claypool,
catch one,
People Jones, sure. I love the price on People Jones. On the People's wide receiver, he is a touchdown scorer. It's a big dude.
Yeah, there's some viable cheap options here to look at, and like I said, I think if you're going to win the millie, it's going to be there's likely going to be some salary left on the table here.
Oh. Throw Jalen Warren in a few lineups. If you're doing MME, get Jalen Warren in a couple of lineups. He's really intriguing.
Schwartz at 5,000. Ooh.
I don't know that you need to go there. He needs to catch a touchdown pass.
He's gonna catch a bomb. He's so fast. Like he's gotta catch a bomb.
He's so
bad.
But
can Brissett throw him a bomb?
No.
God.
Schwartz is terrible. Anthony Schwartz. Yeah, he's terrible. He was actually a highly drafted player. Yes. He was like a second or third round draft pick, which is absolutely bonkers. I hate it when teams draft gadget guys high. I don't understand it. But yeah, I mean, again, the turd zone, I don't think you need to punt this deep on FanDuel. The way that FanDuel sets up.
Yeah. I like the 7,500 George Pickens though.
You can do whatever you want. Yeah. So let's say I didn't want to play Cade York, or I didn't want to go who would you even replace it? You have to leave salary on the table.
That's what I'm saying.
Crazy here, because there's so much money left over that it starts to become ridiculous.
Don't be afraid to do that either on FanDuel, especially.
What wins?
This is a slate that you probably should be leaving salary on the table in MME.
To clarify, much more so on FanDuel than on DraftKings. Don't leave too much salary on the table on DraftKings. No. It has won, but it does. More often than not, it doesn't win.
This is the type of slate that I want to play. Like I want to build 150 on FanDuel and put my salary cap at what is it, 60,000 there? I want to put it at 58. It just let it run 150, and because I have a much better chance of taking it down because people aren't going to leave salary because you build this and you're like, well, fuck, I can go up and get a quarterback instead of dropping all the way down to get George Pickens, right? So I think there's some leverage to be had there.
Yeah. I totally agree. Of course, it's a ballsy way to play, and
I mean, you that money's on fire. You put that in, it's gone.
You got to be aware that you're playing in a ballsy approach, but that's an approach that also solo takes down a tournament.
Yes.
Where on FanDuel, when you spend $60K, I don't think I've ever seen a $60K FanDuel lineup that wins a tournament solo. You just split it with a lot of people, so because there's only so many 60,000 perfect combinations that are even somewhat viable. Assuming that a captain who's semi-normal ends up being the captain of the slate. So it's really tough to win. If I play the chalk captain and spend $60K, I'm not winning anything.
Well,
Even
because
if you win, you don't win.
To make it tangible too, like look at this lineup, for example. In a game like this, it's very feasible that a guy like Donovan Peoples-Jones could outscore Amari Cooper.
Yeah,
It's very feasible to think that Chase Claypool or Pat Freiermuth could outscore Deontay Johnson. It's like you start getting to these points into your lineup where maybe you feel really, really good about 3 or 4 guys, and you're basically trying to choose between, one of those two. One leaves 4,000 on the table, but him outscoring the other is feasible. So it's something that you need to play around with and take a look at a minimum.
I like that.
You can easily lead 2 or 3K on the table on the slate. It's going to be very, very tough to hit the nuts on FanDuel. When Pittsburgh played Cleveland, now it was captain. Neither Hunt nor Chubb were in the flex. There you go. Yeah.
Well, I mean, the scenario, right? Like if Najee's the nuts and they're up by a ton, right? You would expect that we're probably not seeing Chubb or Hunt, right? So you just got to build for those scenarios. And I would
let 1 game sample size too.
And it is, right? But like, I think it's important too to build in chunks, right? Like I'm going to build where I'm going to say, okay, if Najee's in here, there's all my Najee cat. Like you just got to make stands, right? Like, and make a decision and live with it.
You're telling a story, write the chapters.
Yeah.
There's a chapter where Najee Harris smashes and the Steelers are ahead. And then you got to write the story for the Browns. So just think about it that way.
If I max enter this, do I also have to watch this game? Because that seems like punishment.
Geek, that's the reason to watch the game. That's the excuse.
Just watching that misery.
Just watch your Lord of the Rings show.
It comes out at midnight on Thursday.
Oh, okay.
Friday show. I always watch it after. I always fall asleep though. I still haven't gotten through the most recent episode. I keep trying to watch it every night and I just get through the first 20 minutes and I fall asleep. And I'm like, I've seen this first 20 minutes like 5 nights in a row. I just can't get past it. I got to start it up from the middle tonight so I can try to get through it. But all right, that's about it, guys. I have one piece of advice. People like rules, and we can't make too many rules. There's not that much to do. If you play a captain, again, quarterback captain on FanDuel, of course, I'm going to force at least 1 pass catcher, maybe 2, but probably just 1 with them. These quarterbacks they're not running around. They're not running for a lot of yards. Anybody could run for a touchdown. That happens. Mitch Trubisky could scramble for a touchdown.
Yeah.
So could Brissett. It could happen, but they're not like running around for a lot of yards. I would also say this, and this goes back to what you said just before DFS Up North. I like the idea of running. If I'm making 150, I'll probably run batches of lineups. Some maybe even leaving 4 or 5K on the table, like leaving significant salary and then maybe 2K. Because when you set the optimizer for no less than 48.5, most of the lineups are going to still be 48.5. Like it's going to hit that number more often than not.
Just batching it in different numbers.
You almost have to run batches at different levels if you really want that to happen. The other way to achieve sort of unusual lineups would be to set the max ownership projection slider down pretty low, so it's forcing low-owned approaches to the slate.
Right, and then you just got to make sure that you're getting rid of some of these like terrible turds. Or I mean, you end up with the nuts because who scored in that Bills game that I was like that the backup running back or the fullback that scored in the Broncos game or came home and caught 2 passes right away.
I mean, imagine this wacky ass slate, and then to boot, you have the Jalen Warren comes in for an injured starter situation going on. Like, how do you win this? I don't even know anymore. Like, so there are so many crazy ways. Oh, poor Brownies. Just once, let the Jets fan have their happiness.
Hey, number 1 passer in the league, Joe Flacco.
Scotty Newman has not even emerged. I haven't heard from him in days. It's Wednesday. I mean, that should happen a couple days ago.
Right?
Where are you? Where is he? All right. That's going to do it for the Showdown breakdown. Where my turds at? Steelers, Browns. What can Brown do for you?
We need turds. We need people to put their turds in there.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Don't forget. So last week we asked for turds. No one got it. Last week.
Who was it last week? It was
Gilliam.
Reggie Gilliam.
No one got it. That might have even been Sunday, Monday. I'm talking about last Thursday, and it wasn't. It was the wide receiver for the Chiefs, Watson, right?
Watson, yes.
It was Watson. No one got it. So then we actually did a different contest We extended the contest to tournament tactics, but we're going to bring it back. So I should have said, who is your favorite turd of the night? I don't care who it is. Put it in the comments section. Do it on the replay because these live stream comments, we don't see them. But if you're watching this not live, put it in the comments section. Who is your favorite turd on this slate? Who is going to be the slate breaking turd? Yeah, Gilliam. I mean, that just ruined my day, Gilliam. Who is the Gilliam? Who is the Watson of the? Is it Jalen Warren? I don't know, but put it in the comments, and if you're right, we're going to pick one of the correct commenters and give them a free month of, actually a free year of Sharp App Pro. Wow. Sharp App is our sports betting tools and content app. It's awesome. Player props, everything you want. It's really great. Compare odds. You need the Sharp App. It's a free app. Get it now. But if you don't have it and you don't have Pro, put your favorite turd on the slate in the comments section. We will pick a winner and get a free year of Sharp App. We'll mention it next time. We will actually get the winner of last week's who picked Tua mentioned on Tournament Tactics on Friday. So we do have a winner. I have to go back and look because I know that Tua was picked.
That's awesome.
We'll be presenting a winner on Tournament Tactics on Friday. Of course, make sure you like, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell so you are aware when these videos come out. Showdown breakdowns every Wednesday evening for the Thursday Showdown. You get one a week. And of course, Tournament Tactics. Everybody loves Tournament Tactics. That show has gotten the best feedback of anything we've done. The Friday show with Josiah giving out Chubb, with Bobbywow giving out winners. I can't even remember, but you were nailing, like, I was like poo-pooing all your winners. And of course, they all
Tua.
He called Tua. So I was like, nah, it's not Tua. I will never poo-poo your winners again. We'll never poo-poo it. Hunter's just like fullback. Can we give you like any fullback that counts?
All of them.
Yeah.
Zach Gentry.
Nisar Patel, you have to be able to properly pronounce Olszewski if you want to count for that entry. And let's go. So we're going to wrap it up. We'll see you guys next time. Good luck on the Showdown, everybody. Crush it. We love you all. Try goats.
Let's go.
We'll see you next time.